Good evening and a very warm welcome to this Tuesday talk on healing relationships. And my name is Sarah and connecting today from Cambridge, part of the NSBase team. And it would be lovely to hear where you're connecting from today. So if you want to pop in the chat and see where we're connecting to, would be lovely. And throughout the session, a warm welcome to contribute your thoughts and ideas if you're watching on YouTube or on Zoom. Happy to hear your thoughts. And if you're connecting for the first time, let us know. And this topic, I was thinking you can read it in two ways: healing relationships, or like relationships which are healing. And of course, if we've sorted one, then maybe we will move to the other. Once we've healed our relationships themselves may be healing. And this quote comes up for me. This is Robert Holden, who said, "Your relationship with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship you have." I don't know if you feel that from your experience. It'd be nice to hear that too. And often people are carrying like emotions based upon the relationships they've had. And unless we've got a method to come out of it, they as if remain with us. So it'd be nice to see how we can take control and heal and close any impressions of the past and bring this newness and health into our life and interactions. So to discuss this topic and to explore further, I'm going to introduce Dr. Prashant Kakide, based in Cambridge. Background is medical and has been reflecting on aspects of mind for more than 30 years, associated with Brahma Kumaris. So good evening and warm welcome. And we'll have a dialogue today on this topic. So what comes up for you, Prashant, on this subject?
Yes, thank you, Sarah. And it is beautiful quote, what you read. And that summarizes it in a beautiful way, the relationship. So first thing we may have to see that we are not approaching this world of relationships with our own emptiness. If I am approaching this with my emptiness, then I am in a problem. The long term, definitely that will be a problem. Because everyone in this world, they themselves are empty. And if a typical dynamics of a dysfunctional relationship is that one person, he feels he's empty and he thinks someone else will make him full. But the other person is also thinking the same way. He's empty and he thinks that this person will make him full. And our common sense tells us that two empty containers can't fill each other. So it just ends up into expectations and disaster down the line, dysfunctional relationships. We have the option. First, see, this fabricated emptiness that we have created. To check this, what are we looking for? What is that emptiness? The whole spiritual message from any tradition just addresses that see what you already got first and see the fullness. And when you are full, you are a healthy person within any relationship, but with the larger world. Our world is full of relationships. It is a human relationship, but we are relating with matter, we are relating with job, we are relating with God. The whole, our journey is interaction in relationship. And we have the option to approach this world in a noble way.
As an introduction, it's quite succinct. So thanks for that. The option to come from an ability, and more to reiterate something you said, and I think it's something you referred to on occasion about is it a Harvard professor who made a comment about relationships? If I remember correctly, all relationships are dysfunctional. It just depends how much. Is this rightly remembered?
Yeah, question is how dysfunctional. Yeah. Closer the relationships, they become more dysfunctional. This is what his observation. I want to just share one, I might use a board and just draw a few sketches, and that will help us a little bit in background to our relationship dynamics, psychodrama that goes on within the world of relationship. Let us say here is a person. He's very stable, as you see here. And he comes in contact with another person in your university. So there is let us say this was a scene in 2015. They come to know each other better. In time, they are married. And so this is a scene in 2020. And now let us take a scenario of 2021. Today she comes home with green colored hair and half of them pink. So, and if he is affected by this, if he is unhappy with what is going on, what is the reason? If that is the cause of some problem in the relationship, what exactly is happening? Or for that matter, why should he be unhappy at all? Because in this case, we said she changes her hair to green. It could be she talks something different, she chooses a different career. If it affects him, what has happened? It was not affecting him in the year 2015. They still knew each other, but that was not affecting him. Today it is affecting him. Of course, we might say today he's married. So what? And what exactly, what has changed at the present time? What has really happened? Today, he has become slave, if we can use the word. And she has become master. Within the relationship, he has become slave. So she literally can decide whether he is happy or unhappy. She can say something, do something, and he's unhappy. She can do something and he's happy. That is what the master-slave relationship is. How did he end up becoming a slave? Do you want to answer? What happened? Why? How come? Just because he's married, he has become slave? What has happened? What has changed? Here I'm giving the example of marriage. It can be in any relationship. It can be at your, work or friends, or one can end up into a relationship like this.
So the question is, how did it happen?
Yeah, how did he end up becoming a slave within the relationship?
Feel free to type in the chat. It would be great to hear also.
And the encouragement to come in the camera also, because we want this little more interaction, and we want to be, even though it is it is distance, make it as interactive and as alive as possible. Feel free to make your comments, and if you want to speak also, let us know. So how did he end up becoming slave within the relationship? What is your answer?
So comment here from Karen. He has expectations and she has changed something and he may feel afraid because of those changes.
Yes, very good.
And coming from emptiness was another, feeling empty within.
Sure. The most important word here is expectation, or another word is desire. Expectation is a good word, but desire.
And as you wrote, he has allowed her to decide how he feels.
Yes, and it is because he created an expectation that she's a wife and she will behave in a certain way. I created an expectation that she's a wife, she will speak like that, she will dress like that, whatever it is. Now, the big formula for us to know that this is like a common sense, our truth. This world, the entire world, is not in my control. And to create an expectation from another person or anywhere, it is just creating problem to oneself. When something is not in my control, to create a demand, to create an expectation means it's a demand. You make yourself a slave straight away on something that it is not in your control. So the nice formula here, be prepared for the unexpected. Let the starting position be this. You are prepared for the unexpected. So anything can happen here on this planet, and you are prepared for it because you are not trapped yourselves in it by just creating a simple thing as an expectation. It can be in relationship here, wife, it can be a friend. First, remain free. There is no big reward in being a slave in anywhere. Slave is the lowest denomination in any society. So here, mindset, one creates a mind of a slave by as simple thing as the expectation. And then you are creating a master. And then master has power. Master can make you happy. Master can make you unhappy. Just by creating this one expectation, what has happened? You have given power to the other person. And as you give power to the other person, you are with less power. You have created a master and you have created for yourself a slave mentality. This is like another foundation of a dysfunctional relationship. Lots of relationships they both become slaves to each other. It is not just one has become a master and one has become a slave. They have created a symbiotic dysfunctional relationship. They both are slaves to one another. And if we are careless about this, we can go through life creating masters everywhere. You go to work, you created masters there, and you go to on the street, you create masters there, just by creating expectations. And then it is an unhealthy relationship. From the word go, from the beginning, you are into an unhealthy relationship. we have the option here. An option is, be this. No one else has created this slave. No one else has created the master. I have created these masters and the slaves. The slave mentality is my creation. And as simple as this, you are just using this program. Be prepared for the unexpected. Just accepting the reality that people and their behavior and the existence or non-existence, I am not in control. So let me start by saying, this is the world. I'm accepting this. Opposite of expectation is acceptance. We accept. And from that position of strength, you come into the interaction, come into relationship. And maybe you want to change. You want to bring about change in this wife who is making her hair green. You may want to encourage her to change to different color, but do it as a master, not as a slave. And same thing happens in every other relationship.
By doing it as a master, the feelings would be not with emotion, but objective, balanced, peaceful. Is this right?
Yes, it is more like that. When you are in that space, then you are there is peace. You are master. You are accepting things may go in any different directions. That's fine, but you are your own master. That is like a position of power, and whether you call it soft power, but there is a power there. And when you are operating from that space, there is going to be result. When you are acting from the position of the slave, you have less power. Slave has no power. And so how can he bring about results? He is not in control himself. So how can he control other people or the larger world? So that is why starting position, we have the option to change. But at a practical level, we may have to check the scale of the expectations we have created. Even in a spiritual gathering, it can be people who are making spiritual efforts, and we sometimes use the word family, spiritual family. One can end up creating expectations, and it can create an unhappy relationship. And it's good to observe. Even here, we have to observe, check. Are there any masters created already in the past? It is not that right now I can know, I cannot say I have created 1, 2, 3 masters. Over the next week, next 2 weeks, different interactions and people behaving differently, you will come to know if there are expectations there. If anyone's behavior or anything bothers you, it means you are not free. And it is your choice. Someone may make arrangements and does something opposite. That totally, we have to accept this. And that is the way the world is. If it disturbs you, it is your fault. By this thinking, you have created a master. It is like be prepared for the unexpected. And that means you are prepared for plan B. If you are the boss and you may plan, to plan is not wrong, and we can't stop planning. So you are planning the company, some project, but whilst doing this, you are aware things may not work out as you planned. The best, your companions and your staff, they may not be able to do things. You got a plan B ready. Then you are a better boss. Things go differently and you can handle it with peace, then you are a master. If things go differently and it disturbs you, then you are not a master.
Yeah, I liked this clarification. There's nothing wrong with planning, but dissecting out the department of expectations. So being okay with the situation, meaning we don't know which way it will go ultimately, and being prepared. I'd like to understand or discuss a little bit about this area of motivation, because we have a vision or an aim which to aspire. So in this acceptance, can it sometimes nullify those this aspiration in a relationship? Can be, or you mentioned earlier that we are in relationship with situations, the planet, also work. It's like we have a work relationship with our task duties. So could you say a little bit about how motivation comes into this? Does it make sense?
Yeah, yes, very much. Some say they like to interact in an intense way. That just means slavery is in action. We want to be in this world. First, let me get myself right, that you need no one. You enjoy your own company. Let that be the starting position. So you are not begging in any situation. And secondly, you are not creating expectations anywhere. If that is in place, no beggar, no slave, that is a healthy person. And others don't like, no one in the world would choose to have a company of a beggar. They would like to run away from someone who is a beggar. If a person himself doesn't enjoy his company, he all the time wants to distract him by some gadgets or mobile or television. He doesn't want to face himself. If he's not enjoying his company, how will others enjoy his company? These are like obvious things. So if you are enjoying your own company and there is zero beggar within you, then common sense, you are a great company for everyone. They would like to be with you. So that is a good dynamics. You are in starting position is right. It is like a functional relationship, and you enjoy every moment when you are in that space. As we said, we are in relationship with this world. Right now there is silence. You enjoy that silence. You enjoy the sky. You enjoy fog. You enjoy rain. When you are in that space, you are seeing the richness of the world around, richness of variety of people, all this going on. You are, of course, free to you may have a certain direction. Like, for example, if a child is to break something, is breaking, a toy or breaking a chair, you are free to stop the child. It is not that everything is good. You are free to stop. You are free to take the child away from that place. Maybe be strict there also. But all this is happening from the space of your peace and in being in control and having respect for others. You are coming from that space. So the child is an example. And the same thing applies to the world around. It can be the larger society. There are many things you may have to act there, but act as a master, not as a slave.
It's so helpful to open up this option of mastery, and we're already thinking, what does that mean? How does it feel? So it gives us a signal, a very different approach that it's literally available. Question that came, and I think you've touched on it, can being humble give power to others at any time?
True humility is a space where zero master, zero slave, zero beggar. In that humility, there is self-respect. Ego is the one that is definitely the beggar. Ego is the one that is definitely in the slave mentality, which is confused. Ego is a product of confusion. So if we have less ego, you are in that space of self-respect. And then if you are in that space, you are certainly having control on yourselves. The more ego one has, you will find he's less in control. He's quick at taking offense, quick at giving offense. So he's not in control. Whereas one who is in that space, he is more in control of himself.
Yes, lovely. Hope it helps. Are you able, shall I stop sharing the screen? I don't know if you still need the sketch, by the way.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So question that can come up with relationships is, it is understood and helpful, but when there is a big situation that comes up, and often the areas which affect us is if we've been betrayed by somebody and it has created sorrow, are we to say that we should be applying the same principle? Or, I mean, it's a very big state to be in, to have entrusted something in someone and have been betrayed. Do you have any comments on how we may heal that?
Yes, and of course. As we were mentioning before, let me first see myself first. If someone is behaving, say, right now in this world, someone is a miser, it is not my problem. It is his problem. It becomes my problem only if I'm a beggar. Then he, being miser, also becomes my problem. Someone is having a behavior unpredictable. His behavior is he betrays people, he cheats people. It is his problem. It is not my problem. But it becomes my problem if I approach the relationship as a beggar. I am hoping that he will be whatever, so good to me and he betrayed. Let us first be free from that. And I am not expecting anything from anyone. Thank you for not betraying all these years. Thank you for that. And if he's betraying, it is his choice, his life, his mind. It is his problem. It is not my problem. Such will be your attitude if you are free from the slave and beggar within yourself. Then you will be interacting more to free him from that, the mind that is lowest mind. What is he doing? You are going in that reason, not because of self-pity. Be nice to me. That is unhealthy positioning. we have the option. In this case, we have to do the homework. The world, we don't know what the world will offer to us, tomorrow and in future. The world it comes with a label, unpredictable. And so, someone even with the best intention is promising me all amazing things. Even with the best intention, it is possible for him to betray. Because nature of the world is unpredictable.
It's managing our own expectations at the immediate level about the world we live in. And it is like reducing the desires. It sort of brings a neutrality. So it's a really nice possibility there. Just sharing.
So just want to emphasize that, the healing of relationships. I got option only to heal myself. And as we are saying here, the world is not in my control. And certainly some other person and a stranger, how much control. Everyone wants to change someone else. Here we are first seeing we can go to a very high position, noble position. And from that position, you are healthy. Your interaction is healthy. In your deep inside you, there is highest intention for others, and you genuinely love other person and want the best for the other person. That is most important, and you are healed.
Experience from here, earlier in life, I found there was one particular relationship which felt extremely challenging, but the issue is there was not a possibility to connect with this individual. So would you say anything about any methods? Because in my case, what we ended up doing is writing everything down and as if addressing a letter to this person. By means, was able to express the feeling, and it felt like a letting go. And I think I really agree with what you're saying. We can go to a noble, and we're working at that level. But do you think there's anything which can help neutralize sometimes a kind of a communication that may not need the presence of the other person? We're taking back control and releasing a sort of the pent-up emotions that can be there. I don't know if you have any comments on that.
Sure. The highest thing is to start with a different model. Right now, we have the option. As we said, we don't know, what the life will be in future. It is good for us, and we have to train children and others to see from a different model, bigger model. And when you are seeing in a bigger model, then you really understand the option of a life without ego. Otherwise, all that is happening, even psychotherapies and counseling, all that is going on, it is like trying to console the ego and trying to heal the ego. That is the option. That is what people think is healing. Here, what we are doing, we are removing the ego. It is not trying to make life easy for the beggar, but remove the beggar, remove the slave. Let us discover that noble self. That is where spirituality comes in. The most precious, approach in the spiritual tradition is you are discovering that part of you. It is higher self, and for this, you are seeing from the bigger model also, and then everything of this level appears so small and petty that ego shrinks. And when ego shrinks, ego is removed, then what does it matter? It is just like a small example. Someone is criticizing your hat, my hat. Someone is criticizing my hat. And it can become a major crisis and difficult relationships, and all this is going on. But if I have got no ego based on the hat, then it is not a problem at all. He doesn't like the hat. He's making so much fun about it. I will join him in his fun. If I have no ego. Ego is the one that makes a meal of this situation. Ego blows things disproportionately. It has a real issue, real problem. And the same applies to every small thing that we see in the society. And they are really disturbed by things. It is the ego behind, something hiding. Ego has got many heads. It is not just one ego. I can create ego based on a hat. I can create ego based on my job. There are many subtle and gross ego. We have the option to go beyond and understand that we have the option to remove this ego. So that's why that self-healing is starting there, and then you find deep inside you there is a healthy relationship with everyone. Even though they criticize my hat, I feel good about them. I feel loving towards them.
Yeah, a few thoughts come up. Very interesting, isn't it? And ordinarily, I think we're trying to pacify the ego in ourselves and in others, and relationships then become superficial. We sort of have to those niceties and trying to console, and then we end up also alienated from what is really happening. But it's not about pacifying the beggar. That's not the healing. The healing is removing it. And the example I think of this is when we have understanding. For example, if someone in your workplace is behaving in a very difficult, challenging way, but if you have new understanding that they're having health difficulties and a recent operation and some situation in their life, then this understanding, it's like shifts your attitude completely to the person. It creates a new awareness. So I think this is bringing understanding to our lives about ourselves, that we don't need to be slaves, we don't need to be beggars. New understanding of the mastery of the self. It's like removing the need of the presence of the beggar. It's the healing in this, rather than trying to mitigate or navigate the egos. But in saying that, a question comes, do we expect there to be resistance? Because the example you gave, the gentleman and his wife, if she comes home with green hair, she might be looking for a reaction. And he's sort of like, hello, darling. Oh, she may think, oh, don't you care? I've got green hair, So we, do you have any thoughts about that? We may heal ourselves, which is this wonderful thing, but that ego and others and expectations that others create on us, it would be interesting to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, as we said earlier, and I can heal myself. That is guaranteed. That is what I can do. And let me start with that. Can I heal others? And maybe, but let me start with myself. That is 100% success. So if someone else creates expectations, it is their problem. And they are expecting me to be upset. If this is their expectation, it is their problem. They might interpret it as I don't care. No, that is their interpretation. But let me not go into those complexities, trying to fulfill their expectations of that kind. First, let me be free, from my slavery and my beggar. It is healthy. But there is magic also in that. When you are not operating from the slave, that soft power has big success. Like people like Gandhi and all, they brought about such big, at a practical level. And it is because of this inner victory. That's why there was so much power. There was no army outside, but there was a power inside, and brought about big changes. Same is possible for us, not because it will bring about change, and people will all behave well, but bottom line, our bigger success would be they also become free from the beggar, and they also become free from the slave. This is what we really want others to achieve. But we can help others to the extent we have helped ourselves. If I have not helped myself, and then there are limitations how much I can really help others.
Yes, and it depends what our definition thereby is of help. There's a very practical question here, and it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts. What would be your advice for new couples who are moving in together for the first time?
Yes, sure. Of course, there's some things that we spoke that applies to everyone, new and old, and everyone. Life is more than just one relationship. Life is our richness of life, right from birth, your relationships of all kinds interacting. And if I start observing this, that is where the cleverness is. Observing where you create masters. How, so like someone who is always nice, you end up creating expectations that he will be like that always. Take for granted and create masters in the process. And someone who is very close, you end up creating expectations more, and it becomes the reason for problems in relationships. And another big area for us, and especially in a gathering like this, you may be doing favors on others. Not likely here is likely to be a gathering who do good things for others. And that is great. But there is a catch there. When you are doing good things, you feel you are justified in creating expectations. I'll give an example. Say you are going to your office, and outside your office there is a beggar. And he's hungry, he says, I'm dying, please help me. So you give your lunchbox to him, and you have the clean intention. You are happy to miss the meal one day. You say, I'll be hungry, okay, but I will eat tomorrow. And here it is more urgent to give him something to eat. He opens your lunchbox and then says, I don't like this, and throws it in the green bin or whatever blue bin. And now you are hungry, and maybe you are upset also. You are angry also. There is possibility. Now what happened? How did that happen? Here is a stranger you don't even know. You are doing favor on that person, and suddenly he has power to upset you, maybe for 1 minute even, but he has power. He can even say some words to you, that you are selfish or something on top of all this. It is possible. You might feel a bit unhappy about this whole scenario, that you are suddenly into a messy situation. Now, how did that happen? How this stranger has power to upset you? Of course, the reason is, do you want to answer? You can answer. How did that happen? This complete stranger suddenly has power to make me unhappy. Maybe for 1 minute, but why should he have the power to make me unhappy?
So, one answer, you allowed his actions to affect you.
Yes, why?
Mm-hmm.
How?
You mentioned earlier expectations. Is it not the same? You created an expectation.
Created an expectation. And what is the expectation? Expectation is that, at least he eats, someone should eat this. You spend 1 hour preparing this. So it is not to be wasted. Someone should eat. The expectation may be slightly bigger, that he should thank you, for you are such a holy man and so wonderful, missing your meal and helping the poor. So that may be the small expectation of some kind. And he just, destroyed your expectation in the first round.
Here in the chat, someone's written morals and principles. So there's quite an unseen expectation often for some morality or some justice there.
Yeah. There were all kinds. Agreed. But this world is not in my control. Morality and structures, manners, not in my control. The world is unpredictable. And more I remain free from it, better. This example I'm giving is that because I have done favor on him, you feel he should not behave like that. Someone else was to say some bad words to you, you don't mind it. But here you have done favors. The same situation can be in your life also. There are people whom you have done favors. Can be your relations, you have done favors. And because you have done favors, you feel justified to create a demand, create an expectation. He at least doesn't trick you, doesn't cheat you. He does at least, they leave aside one favor even, but he doesn't create problems to you. You create this expectation. That then it is your problem. If you want to do favor, good, great, if you do favor. But don't use that to create a beggar or to create a slave within yourself. Then you are entrapped because you have done an amazing thing. You feel now I'm a nice slave, you create masters all around. And then it becomes a bigger problem for you. It becomes a reason for dysfunctional relationship. You end up you did favors, it should have helped, the relationship. But this slave comes in between and becomes a problem in relationships.
Thank you. Appreciating shining light on this, and it's also a reminder and to shine light especially on the feeling of entitlement from a good act, and especially from those who we are very close to. So I know we've come to time, and if you have anything final you want to add, and it would be nice if you would like to share a few words for meditation reflection before we close.
The important thing I would like to come back to is the healing of the self is such a wonderful start, and we highlighted the area where we can pay attention, and that is all that is required. The world outside, I can't fix. It is not it is too big, the world. But even if I am to take on this world, let it start from myself. Let me bring about this change. And the change starts by, we were addressing this, see the bigger map. We have to go beyond. If I just see this little physical world, then ego is the one that becomes our king. But to remove the ego, I have to see the bigger map and see from the higher perspective. I often like to underline these three words: above, beyond, higher. It is three words, they help us to go beyond the ego. And the ego wants to keep us down below, at this level. The more you go, three words: beyond, above, and higher. The world is much bigger than what we thought it is. Maybe I will speak few words and let us experiment with this. So to see this beyond and higher, we use the spiritual sight. We all have it, and it is fun to, and especially if it frees us from the beggar, even the trace. Why should we keep even the trace of the beggar or slave? That is good. So the moment I use this sight, the entire physical world appears like a story. Whole thing, what happened today and even right now, Prashant talking, that also is happening within the story. And there is the world beyond. Story is not the only world. Everything that happened in the past all happened in the story. The moment we use this word story, ego shrinks. No one creates ego based on a story. Even if he is acting as a king in a story, he doesn't create ego. What an amazing formula here. When it's a story, we naturally become free from complaints and obsessions. Nothing to worry about. But now we are seeing the reality beyond the story. And beyond the story is the world of silence, expanse of light. We see this in the image of a sky. And this is the world of the invisible actors and invisible observers. These invisible actors are the ones who are associated with the story. They are just associated. They never become the characters of the story. They remain the observers of the story. The invisible actors are carefree. They know this dimension beyond. Their world is above, beyond, and higher. But because of this, they enjoy the story. Every moment of it is a gift for them. They are involved in the story world. But at the same time, they are free. Because they know better. They know the reality beyond. They know their timeless dimension beyond. Thank you.
Staying with those reflections, can contemplate this healing starting with the self, and so empowering, and conceiving of this complete independence beyond slavery. So really appreciated this opportunity to revise, refresh. And we look forward to connecting again, and the next talk to share that it's in 2 weeks' time. And it is Eric who's connecting from Canada, and he will be in discussion on finding personal freedom in a crazy world. So if you've enjoyed tonight's talk, then do share with your friends, contacts, details for Inner Space, and we can share in the chat the link. So thank you so much. Thanks to Prashant, and enjoy your freedom and that relationship with the self, with clarity and lightness. And we'll meet again next time. Bye for now. Thank you.